Good afternoon, my name's Jack and welcome back to another Rush Gang fishing episode. Part 3 of the Tinny build series. Quick recap if you haven't watched the past 2 episodes. So I brought this boat here, 1,500 bucks, unregistered, trailer unregistered, looking like absolute crap. Episode 1, I just started ripping everything out of it, started cleaning it up. Episode 2 was about the trailer, so I had to tidy that up, fix a few things. Took that to get inspection, so that passed inspection. I only failed on 2 things first up, which were I put the reflectors on in the wrong spot, so I just had to go get a couple more white reflectors, put them there. I'd put them up there and they were on the wrong angle, so chucked a couple of reflectors there. And the only other thing, it didn't have the VIN number scratched into the trailer. When the trailer failed on just those 2 things, I quickly raced back to work, scratched the VIN number into there, stuck a couple of reflectors on, raced back to the inspection yard, and it passed. Absolutely stoked with that. I've never tried to get a trailer registered in Australia before, and it was actually far easier than I thought. The trailer wasn't in really bad condition when I began with it, but it did need a bit of work. I resprayed the whole thing, added the reflectors, and just had to knock a whole heap of surface rust off the trailer just to make it look better. Just got brand new number plates, brand new lights we put in there, so that's all looking a lot nicer than it did. So this episode is just a quick update on the boat really. Something pretty exciting has gone into it. I'm absolutely stoked about it, and I just want to say a huge thank you to the guys that watch the videos. I've had that many guys messaging me, trying to find me outboards and whatnot. It's pretty wicked. Guys sending me messages from Marketplace, check this outboard, check this out. Absolutely stoked. Even had a guy come and drop me off a whole heap of rail blazer fitments and that, so I've pretty well kitted the boat out with that stuff. A guy was messaging me I can come pick up a brand new fuel tank off him. Absolutely stoked that guys are getting involved in the channel, and yeah, people literally trying to find me outboards that I can purchase. It's really cool. Something I'll show you guys in a minute, DC Deck Co's got on board. They do all the marine flooring and they've covered my seats for me at this stage, and it looks absolutely amazing. The Tinny has completely transformed. I'll show you guys that in a second. But I think now all that really needs doing to this boat now is putting the motor on the back, obviously putting the flooring in as well, which is the next step, and then just wiring up the sounder, the nav lights, a bilge pump, and probably a spotlight on the front as well. I'll quickly show you guys inside the boat. I've spent a fair bit of time cleaning this up, so it's looking quite different to what it did when I picked it up. I mean, it's still a rough old Tinny, but it is starting to look more how I visioned it. Check that out for a front seat in a Tinny. DC Deck Co have covered that. Looks absolutely amazing. Obviously all my branding and that there. A big fish roller up on that front seat. Back seat is also looking $1 million. I can't believe how good that come up. We had a bit of an idea, left them to it, and it's come up an absolute treat. Check it out. Actually looks amazing. I'm so stoked with how that seating come out. So now I need to get my flooring sorted. I'm going to be taking it back in there, and then they're going to be covering all the flooring for me as well, which is going to look absolutely incredible. So yeah, this week's mission is to go get some plywood and that, cut it all out to the right size, fit that in there nice and snug, and then probably go drop it back off to them. The whole Tinny's looking so different from when I picked it up. Still haven't decided on an outboard. We'll get around to that soon. I've put some stainless rod holders on the back here. You guys said to chuck some rubber under there, so I cut out some rubber, got that all under there. It's not perfect, but it's never going to be when I'm doing it, but they look pretty wicked compared to the broken plastic ones that were on there. Another rod holder out the back there. As I mentioned in the first video, I want to keep this Tinny as practical and simple as possible. I don't want to go jamming everything that you possibly can into a Tinny. I do want to keep it simple. Gone with these rail blazer fittings for around the boat. They're really simple and interchangeable, so I think they keep the boat pretty minimal. Got a little sounder mount on there. This sounder come with the boat. I am going to try use it for a little while because it does work. I know for a fact in probably the not so far future I will end up getting a far bigger sounder. But that's sat on a little mount there. I forget what rail blazer call this one, but it's a little storage pocket. Fit your coffee cup in there. You get scissors and knives and whatnot in there. Hang lures and that off there, so that's all pretty cool, pretty simple. I've put a Railblazer rod mount on there, so I got the port there, the port on that side, so if I'm snapper fishing and I can't have two rods out the back, I can just move this rod holder from either side depending on what way the current's going. Little camera mount up the front. So yeah, all pretty simple really. I want to keep it clear and practical. I just want to have as much free space as possible. And I had this little Yeti chili bin at home, so I've chucked that in there. That actually fits perfectly. That'll be for my dry storage. I got one of those Railblazer rod mounts in there too. That's probably going to go here. Still haven't fully decided on a spot for that. Yeti chili bin, that sits in there really snug. I'll have my anchor in there. Obviously all that wiring will tidy up once I wire it up. They're just for the nav lights. Have my anchor in there. That sits nice and snug there for dry storage. So anything I don't want getting wet is going to go in there. I got this given to me and it's far too small for fish, so I'll use it for dry storage. Even my flares, marine radio, maybe a tackle box or two can sit up in there. And plus, as I'm pulling the anchor and whatnot up the front here, I can kneel on that and that's locked in there. Gives me a good spot to pull the anchor. So I feel like that's pretty practical. I'll probably end up removing these off there. I mean, I don't really use the esky for anything else anyway. It's just a bit too small for fish. Look at that. That is such a clean finish. I can't believe something so nice is in my boat. Definitely changes the look of it all. As far as the Outboard goes, I still haven't decided on a brand. I know a lot of guys sort of mentioned in a previous video to get a 40 horsepower for it. That would obviously be amazing, but the price difference between the 30 and the 40 jumps up quite a bit. Not to mention, I want to keep this Tinny as simple as possible. What I'm actually leaning towards at this stage is just a little 30 horsepower. I don't go very far anyway. Plus that keeps it a little bit lighter for when I want to start beach launching and that. Don't even think I want it to have tilt and trim, nor even a battery. What I'm actually thinking is just keep it as simple as possible. So it'll be a brand new 30 horsepower, just a pull start. So I won't even need a battery down there for the motor. Obviously manual tilt, but that's not really an issue with such a small outboard. Yeah, the boat won't be super fast, but as I mentioned, I don't go far. All I want to do is go out, get a couple of snapper and some crayfish. And you certainly don't need to go very far for that whatsoever. So what I'm thinking is the fuel tank will sit over this side. Ideally there'll be no battery here. If I end up going with that outboard option, there'll be no battery here. Obviously I'll put a bit of plywood flooring there. Back here the bait, the burley, or even a fish bag or something will sit down there. So that'll free up space there. And a battery would only be required for the sounder, nav lights, bilge pump, and possibly a little spotlight on the front. So I'm thinking of mounting a little battery in here. I don't know if that's a good idea or not, but that could sit in there somewhere. Get it nice and secure. Anchor and anchor rope just over here. As I mentioned, dry storage right there. And I've got that little Railblazer rod rack in there, which I think will be mounting right here. And yeah, just keep it as simple as possible, I think. Just a quick thank you to everyone who's watching, everyone who's jumped on board, and to the guys who are just sending me messages like, mate, check out this outboard. Absolutely stoked. It's pretty cool to have people out there looking out for you and whatnot, so it's pretty wicked. Massive thank you to DC Deck Co for jumping on board. As you've seen, that has completely changed the look of this Tinny. And once they do the flooring, it's going to look $1 million. Potentially a brand new little outboard on the back, just for reliability and peace of mind really. I do want to take my kids out and that a little bit. Just having something brand new on the back I think may be the go for me. That's part 3 of the Tinny series. More of an update than anything, but we are getting there with it. So give it a few more weeks and boat will probably be on the water most likely. All registered, all legal, and there's not actually that much more to do to it really. Absolutely stoked with how it's coming along. If you like this one, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and hopefully this thing will be out pulling in some snapper and crayfish and whatnot very shortly.
sleep on here. Can we go sitting quickly now with no ground on it? Or go into Ocean.